Morning at NTV.
So yesterday, NTV hosted a live cast of the Economic Policy Research Center. This was in partnership with the Uganda private sector, discussing the SME recovery and the practicability of the COVID-19 policies away from the paper. What is on the ground, though? Government asked the SMEs, federations and other stakeholders for proposals for sponsorship, business recovery, update us on whoever and all that. There is a lot going on ground than what meets the eye. Now, to help us understand this conversation, we have the President of the Federation of Small Medium Enterprises, Mr. John Walugembe. Good morning, Mr. Walugembe.
Good morning, Andrew. Thank you for having me here.
Well, again, to have you again, because we've had this conversation again and again.
Yes.
Now, today you're back. The
Yes.
other time we're discussing how do we get the stimulus, the
Correct.
liquidity and all that.
Correct.
So we're pushing government to, do something.
Yes.
And that conversation yielded, Mr. Walugembe. Government came up with some package
Yes.
to ease this entire COVID situation. How are you holding up? How are the SMEs?
SMEs, this is a tough situation. I want to tell people that for small businesses, this is going to take time.
Okay.
And my estimate, between 3 to 5 years for the impact of this pandemic to wear off.
Wow.
So people must have the right. There's not going to be a silver bullet.
Yes.
Because some people felt now that government has announced a stimulus package, we don't want to hear from Mr. Walugembe again talking
yes.
about SMEs and
Oh,
so on.
yes.
It won't happen.
Mr. Walugembe, we're talking about 1 trillion Ugandan shillings in the Uganda Development Bank.
Yes.
That was allocated. The ministry signed, the president in his State of Nation address, he said, citizens, countrymen, there is money here. I was on site that evening when he said that.
Yes.
With 1 trillion, you're telling me there is no silver bullet. Mr. Walugembe, how much money do
No,
you
it can't be. This is not free money, first of all. This is money that government has put in place to support businesses recover.
Okay.
And we want to applaud government for this initiative because they had a cry and said, okay, the money is there.
So you've
Now,
received the money?
No, we haven't received the money.
Come on.
The issue is the conditionalities attached to this money in UDB are not favorable for small businesses.
Okay.
There are about 13 requirements, and if I'm to mention some of
Whoa.
them, you must have audited accounts for 3 years,
Okay.
you must go to the Credit Reference Bureau, you must have security, you must have this and have that. So a very detailed business plan and proposal.
No. Let's go slow, Mr. Walugembe. The word you used I had was security.
Yes.
What do they mean by security? Because
So
you thought
security means if you want 100 million from UDB, you must give them your house of 450. You must deposit the title of your house.
at a stimulus.
No, you must deposit the title of your house with them so that in case you default.
But I'm trying to access the government stimulus.
But it's not free. It's not a grant.
I understand it's
And
not a grant.
and that's our query. We are saying
Yes.
maybe we need to relook at the practicability and impact of the stimulus that has been announced. Probably we could look at small grants and
Yes.
a bit of soft loans, low interest or zero interest loans,
Yes.
and with very minimal conditionalities, because what we are talking about are issues of life and death for businesses. See, a stimulus is meant to be like life support.
Yes.
Someone is in hospital.
And SMEs are in critical care.
Yes, you can't say we have 30 tablets for you to swallow. You just you just bring a drip because this person now can't swallow. So we think
my God.
the stimulus is more of a long-term thing.
So you have 14 requirements
Yes.
that you can plug in. You need to plug in
To be able to access
to
this
access
money.
these
And what
funds.
you are saying, these conditions simply favor the prepared. Those people are already accessing money before
Big
this
farms
crisis.
already.
The big firms will continue accessing this money. So let's relook at how do we improve this. And I think we need to do it jointly. And both government and the private sector, how can we improve this so that the SMEs at the bottom of the pyramid actually benefit?
But
Now,
have we-
secondly, government has also channeled some money through the microfinance support center, through the SACCOs and MFIs. And we want to see that channel being more prominent. Less money was put there, but I think it's also a critical channel through which businesses can receive support.
Okay.
Yes.
all this conversation, first of all, I'm very disappointed, very deeply disappointed that one has to have 14 requirements to have access to a would-be life support.
Well, the point is UDB is a bank, and they
It is
operate
business
like a
as
bank.
usual.
Though UDB is a development bank, so we expect it to operate differently than
Yes.
other banks, because this is our money,
Yes.
taxpayers' money. It's not creditors' money or what, but it's us who have, as the government, and government has given UDB this money.
Oh, yes.
So yes, it's good to protect that money, but it's greater to ensure that businesses don't collapse and the economy as a whole remains functional.
Wow.
And I think this is our appeal to UDB and other entities that are being used as channels to support the recovery of this economy. Let them make sure that their conditions are flexible. We are not asking them to give away free money, which wouldn't be a crime by them, because other
Yes,
governments
it's business.
have been giving grants to businesses to keep them afloat.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
But 14 requirements. Now I totally feel the SMEs. Now, Mr. Wilgib, what's your view on government's recent move to charge drivers and some willing enterprises $65 for COVID-19 testing?
Well, as we understand it, the
They
charge
use
is
the word
12.
in English, sugar-coated, cost sharing.
No, I think the price is, in my opinion, I may understand their position, because you see, as government, their resources are limited. They can't, if I go and say I want to do a COVID test for my own comfort, why should government? And so government is saying, fine, we are going to test those people that are at risk, but if you think you need a COVID test as John, to make sure that you're comfortable, then you pay $65. I think it's a high cost. Maybe it can be brought lower, because the issue with this COVID-19 crisis is that testing is critical. So if testing is critical, how do we bring this cost down? Either through innovation, what test kits are we using? Because I believe there are cheaper options out there we can run with. Let's explore different options. Let's not get so stuck on this $65 thing, because I'm sure it can be cheaper. But I'm agreeable to the concept of people having the ability to ask for COVID tests as and when. The only issue is that the ordinary citizen that is at risk should access testing for free.
For free, absolutely.
Yes.
There is another instance. Government is planning to reopen all the other enterprises soon or later. We are hoping that by 1st October, we should be up and running. Is this good news?
This is very good news, because the economy, there was no reason why the Ugandan airports and borders were closed, because if you look in the EAC region, Kenya is open, Tanzania is open, Rwanda is open. So you cannot be the only blue-eyed
area in the region.
Yes. If other people are opening and there's a crisis, it will reach our doors eventually. So we shouldn't pay a very high price economically. So I think the decision by the president to open the economy cautiously is positive, and we applaud it. And we ask Ugandans hit the ground running. It's good to expect government stimulus, but what if it never reaches? What if the conditions are 14, but even if they are made 10 or 9, who knows if you... I mean, do most SMEs have security, for instance?
That's the thing.
So let's look at getting yourself in order. And for my advice to SMEs would be, my advice would be focus on about 4 areas.
Okay.
Focus on
those are them. Tell them.
Yes. Focus on financial resilience. How do you keep your money within? Don't waste money during this period. Focus on operational resilience. How do you optimize the staff that you have? If you have a restaurant, why do you employ 100 workers? One's role is just to clean the table and so on. Abroad, one person operates a restaurant completely. Only one person. So we need to look at how do we make ourselves operationally resilient. Then we'll need to look at revenue resilience. How do you bring in money? There is no business that can survive when money is not coming in. This is the bottom line. If you have a business and customers are not coming, it's not a business, it's an NGO. So if customers are not coming, you are in big trouble. So I think these are the 3 areas that businesses need to look to, especially now, to ensure that they are resilient. Because it's very easy to say, oh, government this, government that, but what of you? What are you doing? Because you are, at the end of the day, you are the entrepreneur. If government knew how to do business, they would be succeeding, but they don't know. That's why they exited and left you to run
And
the
they let you
business.
to work.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Walgembe, going forward, are you having these conversations of the models you possibly would wish to see shared with the government? Do they get these views on how best we can possibly align the stimulus that is coming through? Then that said, how are you people holding up in SMEs with regards to the labor turnover?
Okay. First of all, I would say that government is hearing our views loud and clear.
Okay.
We are engaging them. We are writing position papers. We conduct what we call the SME Optimism Index, and we share it. Even yesterday, we are sharing our reports with the Ministry of Finance. We have written position papers.
Nice.
We have engaged with the Parliamentary Committee on the National Economy and forwarded our proposals. Obviously, some proposals have been taken, some proposals have not been taken. For instance, we had proposed for tax relief, and this
From all SMEs?
tax relief, yes. We are not saying don't pay taxes completely, but reduce, like the VAT rate can be brought low. The pay-as-you-earn threshold can be increased. The 3 months when businesses were not operating, waive NSSF. But otherwise, they are burdened. Let's also solve the issue of the tenants and landlords.
Yeah.
We've left the burden to SMEs to handle completely. That those are private arrangements.
And how
no.
turbulent is that way of dealing with the landlords? Imagine I had a company and it's an SME,
Yes.
and I'm on this building, but I fall under your federation.
Yes.
My landlord is not paying attention to what I'm saying, and I come to you, I say, you're my federation. Please help us. Have you got to that level where the federation is negotiating on behalf
Yes.
of the
yes.
SMEs?
Yes, so we have collaboration with lawyers that we work with. And because if we look at the existing laws, we believe that the tenant within those parameters is sufficiently protected. And what we ask SMEs is, please, as the young people say, don't die in your own movie. If you're having issues with your landlord, contact the federation. We'll put you in touch with a lawyer who can advise you how to proceed. The lawyer is not going to tell you don't pay at all. No. What they want is to reach a negotiated agreement between the tenant and the landlord, so that all of you, because all of you are business people,
Yes.
all of you need to stay in business. Because also you as a landlord, if all your tenants collapse,
There is no business.
because you're very stringent,
Yes.
then what business will you make also?
There is no business.
Yeah, so you have to be fair-handed as a landlord.
And let's talk about the labor turnover.
Yes.
How are SMEs managing this? Because even you've just alluded to your statement.
Yes.
I'm alluding to a statement where you say that you don't need 100 people if you can optimize on the few that are working in there.
Yes.
All this labor force, Mr. Walugembe.
No, it's a tough scenario, but as I said,
It's business as usual.
No, it's not business as usual. Businesses have to make two tough choices. Do I allow the business to collapse and all of us lose? Or I keep a few staff, the business survives, and then at some point I can bring back my staff when I have stabilized. This is what fishermen face when they are at sea and there's a storm.
Oh, yeah.
And then they throw off luggage.
To save
I'm
a
not
life.
saying suffer luggage, but I'm saying sometimes you say the boat is too heavy in
And
order
the
to
tides
save
are
our
high.
lives. If we have luggage, if you bought bananas, throw them off.
Generator.
If you bought a generator, so that we are light and we can save our lives. So
Okay.
this is what businesses are grappling with. How can I make some stuff redundant in order to save the entire business? But what SMEs should do is do it in a negotiated way. Don't just wake up and dictate
No,
to
that's
your
the
staff.
problem. That's
very,
the problem.
it's very bad. Sit down with your employees and say, look, we have this situation, customers are not coming in, we only have this money to pay 5 staff. What do we do? The staff can even tell you, no, we shall work for free for 2 months
As we stabilize.
as you stabilize. So
So these dialogues.
it has to be a negotiated agreement. You shouldn't just come as a say, here I am the boss, it is my business, and then you write a tough letter. You see, you'll end up in industrial court.
Oh, yes.
And then you spend more money there than you would have spent. So
you would have said.
that's why I talked about financial resilience. Keep the money. Don't take funny decisions that can cause you to lose money at this time.
As we're winding up this conversation, Mr. Walgembe, what are your key recommendations to government and the key recommendations to those in SMEs to survive these unprecedented times?
So to government, I want to say there's no silver bullet, and this is very, very important. This is going to be a long-term situation with primary and secondary impacts. What we're experiencing now are primary impacts of the lockdown and so on. Now the secondary impacts the fact that people in the diaspora are no longer sending money, grants and loans are drying up, those will take longer. And I think we need to tighten our belts, both government and the private sector. And we shouldn't say, oh, they put 1 trillion in UDB, therefore forget about COVID, let's just continue. No, this is not going to happen. So I think we need to work together to ensure that we salvage as much as we can. For business people, look to government, yes, but you are the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Take sound decisions within the business that can ensure that you remain a going concern. As I said, focus on financial resilience, revenue resilience, and operational resilience. Take decisions that ensure that you remain alive as a business. Firstly.
If I'm an SME and I'm within the federation and I sign, but I don't know where to find you, where can we find
the federation? Has a website, www.fsmeuganda.org. The federation also has offices in Ntinda. In future, the federation is going to set up centers where SMEs can be supported.
Around the country?
Around the country.
Wow, thank you so much. That is Mr. Walugembe, the president of Federation of Small, Medium Enterprises. Mr. John Walugembe, thank you so much for blessing us this morning.
Thank you, Andrew, for having me.
Well, that is such a remarkable moment, and for the SMEs, I feel for you. I'll take a break and I'll be back shortly.